Tonight will be madness.
Welcome to Hawthorn.
This is insane.
You shouldn't be here. This is real, isn't it?
What the heck is going on?
Something special.
I love you all.
We're gonna die tonight. Come on, we can't miss this.
Who's hungry?
The Menu in theaters November 18, rated R.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
All right, welcome back to Do You Even Movie? I'm, of course, your host, Henrique Couto, here with my good buddy and co-host, Double D, David. Yeah, it must have been a bet, Denoyer.
Greetings.
Of course, referring to your shorn head.
My shorn head. It was a combination of I hadn't gotten a haircut.
And you lost a match against another wrestler, against a wrestler with long hair.
I had not gotten a haircut since my breakup. Normally, Allie was the one who cut my hair for one.
Wow,
Yeah.
Baby needs his bottle.
No, it wasn't so much that as much as I woke up this past Sunday and I was just like, let's just go ahead and take it all off and get ready for summer.
Please, no, David.
Too late.
Well, you're subjecting the folks who watch us on Patreon and YouTube to the sheen, the shine, the sad reality.
The sad reality.
Of everything that's happening here today. But we are talking again this week about another film that's relatively recent.
Yes.
In this decade.
Yes.
And
had to take a break from the 90s because we just...
obviously, due to our age and stuff, we
Yeah.
lean into the 90s for nostalgia hits.
Yeah.
And we did kind of notice when we look back, we were like, oh, we did like 6 90s movies in a row.
Yeah.
So we decided to try and spread our wings and fly, much like one of the tableaus in our film tonight.
That is true.
2022's The Menu. And I'm looking forward to talking about this because this film, I feel like before it even came out, it was a very divisive film.
I would agree with that. I feel like because we were just getting back to the theaters around this time because 2022 was when it came out. I think the theaters opened back up like 2021.
No, they opened in Ohio. They opened up at the end of October of 2020.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. But yeah, I think this was one that I remember a lot of people were kind of going back to the theater for because there was a lot of buzz about it. I mean, it is labeled as a horror film. Whether it is 100% is debatable.
I mean, it's definitely in thriller territory. The reason I don't know about calling it a horror film is because it's not really, it's got these little horrific moments. So I feel like, but then again, if you had to market it, horror movie would probably be the way to
horror
market
thriller.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the one thing that we have to say before we even start this movie is, like a nice spread out dinner course, this film has layers to it, and could also kind of double as an episode of Cutting Deep into Horror, to be honest.
Well, and that's a fair point because Dave, you did call me.
Yes.
When you wanted to watch this film, you call for the show. You'd called me at like 3 a.m. and you were crying, and you were saying like, "I just want to do elevated horror," and I was like, Dave, if you really want to talk about elevated horror, we'll talk about elevated horror.
It's not A24. I mean, I'll say that much.
I mean, thank goodness, because you're on the warpath against them.
I'm not on the warpath against them. Are we going to talk about this now?
This morning.
Oh, God.
Before we recorded the show, this morning, some news broke, which may or may not be true.
Oh, you didn't see it?
What?
The new update? It's not canceled. They're retooling it.
That new update is just as
vague.
Yeah, it's nobody got A24 to comment.
Yeah.
Nobody got anybody to comment properly. So there's a rumor going around, a big rumor, that A24 and Peacock were supposed to make a Camp Crystal Lake series, a Jason Voorhees series.
Friday 13th, yep.
And they now it appears have pulled the plug on it. That's according to some insiders who were unnamed. And then other unnamed insiders said, no, they're retooling
it. Yeah.
But it wouldn't shock me if it got cut because all streaming services are cutting.
Yeah.
They're cutting
Content
a lot out
back.
of their budgets.
Yeah.
To try and, I don't know, make a profit.
Make
for
a
once.
profit, yeah.
I mean, I just saw a list of CEOs of film studios was released, and of the ones that took pay cuts were Netflix, and one other one that I was very surprised by took massive pay cuts.
Oh, wow.
So, but my point is, Dave was just like, good.
I didn't say good. Okay.
Do you want me to pull up the actual?
No, I can tell you. I can tell you what the chat says. I can tell you what the chat says.
Go ahead.
Literally, our good friend Rob, who's a fan of the show, posted the article, and I think I said meh. Basically, it was like meh, like not a loss to me. And what I meant by that was, I just don't know if A24 is a company that I want messing with Friday the 13th. I'm just gonna say that.
Why is that, Dave?
Because it's a straight up campy slasher film. Not campy because it takes place at a camp, obviously, but just
no. That's why it's campy.
I mean, that is
at
why
a
it's
camp.
campy, yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it feels like it just does not need to be messed with. I don't know.
You mean like as in there should be no show at all?
That's tough for me.
I mean, this is Mr. I'm excited for Dairy on Max.
Welcome to Dairy, yes.
Welcome to Dairy.
I mean, I'm excited for that. With A24 doing a Friday 13th series, my biggest issue is just I don't know what story they can tell at this point that may or may not pull me back into it. Also, the first Friday the 13th series we got was fine at best.
Well, it literally had zero to do. It's not
with the
like when
show.
people talk about Freddy's Nightmares and it
Yeah.
had just a little to do with Freddy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Friday the 13th, the series
Had nothing to
I mean,
do
did they
with it.
even have a hockey mask in
I
their
don't
store?
even
You know,
think they
see, that's what I'm
did,
saying.
yeah.
Like, it had nothing to do with it. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, but I am saying that A24 is known for doing interesting things.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of A24 films that I like, and there's some that I don't. and
That's why
there's
you cry
some
when
that
you
I'm
say
mid
elevated
on.
horror.
Oh my God. It's more so just, I don't know if Friday 13th, the series, is something we need at this point. I'll just say that.
What do we need, Dave? What does the world need now, David?
A Slaughter High remake, another Crow series.
When you say Slaughter High remake, you mean a big budget Slaughter High remake,
big
like
budget.
Platinum Dunes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then what was the other thing?
Another Crow series.
Another Crow series?
Yeah.
Another TV
Another
series
TV
based on the
series.
Crow?
Yeah.
Honestly, that would be smarter than a movie.
I'm kind of surprised, to be honest.
I'm not.
I mean, I'm not, but yeah, I mean, it's difficult because I'm really hoping that movie is good. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, time will tell.
And it can't rain all the time.
But Edward Furlong. But no, that's. But it was just funny because you got so you got caught up in being kind of mad about it.
I wouldn't say I was grumpy about it, but I would say that maybe I was grumpy about it. But
a smidgen.
I guess my biggest point with it is so the first Omen we saw, and I really dug the first Omen.
And not the first film of The Omen, but the movie called The First Omen.
The prequel, yeah. And I'm trying to think what the Exorcist Believer. It was fine. It was fine. I liked some of the things they did, but I
thought the First Omen was really good.
I love First Omen. No, that's what I'm saying. I liked First Omen. Exorcist Believer, it was
okay.
It was fine.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just kind of like with some of these requels, sequels, I'm mid on right now.
Well, everything that's old is new again, including being almost entirely a market full of remakes, which is basically that was the landscape when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So, well, you wouldn't know. You were. It was the tail end of that remake craze. I mean, do you like? I remember. So by 2001, 2002, the average horror fan would say, "I am just so sick of these remakes."
Yeah,
all the time. It was a
Absolutely.
very common sentiment to the point where, when of all things, like when Adam Green's Hatchet finally got made, they were literally celebrating that it was a
new thing,
that
or
it was
whatever.
a non-remake in theaters. And Green used to say that when he was trying to pitch things, that like every studio would just be like, "Well, we really would rather have a remake or whatever." And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Now, meanwhile, now Hatchet is now into 4 films, and damn near being remade.
Yes,
but,
that is also true.
but that's life. But my point is that was that was the mentality then, and it seems to be the mentality returning now.
It absolutely is. Because, I mean, when we went to the theater, or was this when I had to see The Mummy? I can't remember. Basically, when I went to the theater recently, and I think it was when I went to the retro screening of The Mummy recently, the 1999, it was like they had, oh God, I'm trying to remember what the trailers were, but it was all remakes and sequels. And then there was like one original movie mixed in. So like even with the trailers we're seeing in theaters now, it's a lot of, the next installment's coming of this, or this requel's coming, or this legacy sequel's coming.
But at the same time, I mean, when I just did an episode of one of my other shows, I did Monthly Spooky a week or so ago, it dawned on me I had seen, I believe it was 6 horror films in the theater in a month. And of those, I think 2 were remakes.
Okay.
Because I saw, of course, the first Omen.
Yeah.
Immaculate, which is not a remake or anything.
I want to see Immaculate.
I saw Sting.
Yep.
I saw Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
I saw Arcadian. And then I saw the Abigail.
Abigail, yeah.
So actually only one of those was a remake.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, at least in the horror space, it doesn't seem like it's as awash with remakes as it was in the 2000s.
As it was, no. And I'll say, and the one thing that I will say in spite of all this is I don't have a problem with new content coming out because it doesn't diminish anything of the original.
As long as you're a true horror fan, which is up to David.
Well, it's like, I remember Hen has known me for a long time, so he knows he has instances where Salty Dave, as he calls it, has made an appearance.
Yes,
and
Pure Salty Dave.
I remember Pure Salty Dave was out in full force when Suspiria got remade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you were like, actually, it's not so bad. And I sat down and watched it, and when I was done watching it, my Blu-ray wasn't broken in half. I didn't put it in, and the picture was all pixelated.
So you were
anything
disappointed.
Like
you were like, can't they destroy the original?
No, that was my point. Was it didn't destroy the original. So I mean, with the Friday 13th series, Friday 13th series coming from Peacock and A24, I would absolutely watch it. It's just finding out the news of it getting canceled. It's possibly getting canceled, which it probably didn't. It was more so. It was just like, okay. Like it's not something I'm chomping at the bit for, but I'll watch it. I'll still watch it.
Oh, you know you'd watch it, like the little consumer whore you are, and you know it. You know you would.
I didn't say I wouldn't.
Are you kidding? If it was like only 6 or 8 episodes,
you'd
be like, bro,
through that
bro.
shit.
You'd be like, bro, Saturday.
Oh yeah.
You want to just do it?
Oh yeah.
Bucket of chicken. That's literally the kind of texts that Dave and I exchange, by the way.
And maybe that's honestly what I kind of miss too, is that I feel like with such an oversaturated market, because like, great example is like I'm watching Fargo now, and you've been telling me to catch up on Fargo for a couple years now.
Yeah, easily.
And it's with the saturated market, it feels like there's never a shortage of anything to watch. So with that in mind of a series, it's like, yeah, I'll definitely get to it, but it's a matter of when and how quickly I'll go through it, for that matter.
Did you hear Marvel is saying they're going to commit to 3 films and 2 series a year?
Damn.
That's such a massive scale back.
That's a cut down, yeah.
An incredible scale back.
Yeah, because they were averaging like, 4 movies a year?
I think it was 6.
Was it 6?
But they had like 9 series come out like over the course of 1 year, or something ridiculous like that.
Jeez.
That's not an exact number, but it's close.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I mean, the oversaturated market is a challenge. I just started watching. Well, I just finished watching the mini-series sequel of Justified, City Primeval, which was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Ended in a way that kind of pissed me off.
Damn it.
But I mean, because I'm like, well, it kind of makes you think there's going to be more, but there shouldn't be. They said there wouldn't be.
They said they were done, yeah.
But now I'm watching Fallout.
Yeah.
But I do have trouble keeping up with all the shows.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, that's why it's taken me several years to get back on Fargo, because when Fargo premiered, I loved that first season. And I watched the second season like about a year or so after that, I want to say.
That's usually how that works.
No, I mean, shut up. You know what I mean. But yeah, I just fell off of it. And it's because I'm bad at TV. So it's like with a show announcing that it's possibly getting canceled, it's like, it sucks, but at the same time, like, it's no loss to me.
I call bullshit.
What?
You're bad at TV, yet Lifetime is television.
That doesn't count.
Oh, so now you're going to piss where you eat?
That doesn't count.
You're going to piss where you eat.
But Lifetime...
You love those Lifetime movies.
Yeah, I'll tear through them. Like, I will watch 6 in one sitting sometimes. But Oh, God damn
The sitting is on the toilet.
God damn it, you got me there. Okay.
I know I got you.
Okay. I mean, I'm bad at
My
other
job
TV.
is to keep you honest.
I'm bad at other TV, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I think a part of it is that you're just bad.
Bad at sex. You're
bad at sex. That's the first Holliston reference we've had here on the show.
For 24 episodes,
for
we're doing
24,
impressive.
yeah. I mean, it's only a 14-year-old show. But no. I get it. There is so much content to consume. It's challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like you have to consume it. And that's like one of the things that I've kind of had hit me with this overabundance of sequels, remakes, stuff like that, where it's like, 1 week it's Indiana Jones, the next week it's another Marvel thing, the next week it's another Disney thing, and then it's this and that. It used to be, I did feel, not to sound like Jerry Seinfeld, but it used to be, I did feel like if I didn't go see them, I was missing out on a cultural element.
And I get that. No, I 100%
But I don't feel that at all anymore.
I don't either. No.
Now I'm like, I just want to see as many movies in the theater as I can that look fun.
Well, it's like, going back to the whole thing of the original days of the first streaming, like Orange is the New Black. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I was one of those people that when season 2 dropped, I was watching it at 3:30 in the morning when we got it originally released over here.
Because you've got time.
I don't have any show like that anymore that'll pull me that quick, it feels like.
Really?
I really don't. Except for, God damn it.
What?
Below Deck is currently the only thing that I'm watching as it premieres.
Dave likes garbage reality shows more than work made by hardworking people. That's it. Dave's like, look, I want my horror elevated and my television below deck,
That's the only thing that I'm watching as it premieres right now that I can think of, at least. But that's not to say that, I'm trying to catch back up on stuff because I did feel like I've missed out on Fargo, especially, and City Primeval's one, and
Mayans.
Them is one I want to start watching, that Amazon Prime show, and The Boys is coming. So, I mean...
Well, you've watched The Boys up until now, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm all caught up.
Yeah, of course you are.
I've watched the entire series that's available right now twice.
So, anyway, all of this to say, Dave is a bad person, and we should all shun him.
I will absolutely watch the Friday the 13th series if it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to cry about it.
You just hope it doesn't happen.
It's not that Moving on.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
So the menu.
What is that?
It's a movie.
Okay. Well, Dave, give us the poignant deets.
All right. So we're talking about the menu in 2022, and it was 1 hour and 47 minutes. Rated R for strong, disturbing, violent content, language throughout, and some sexual references.
I'm such a child. Whenever I see language throughout,
Yeah.
I always go, oh, I hate movies that have language. Why do they have to talk?
Those talkie pictures.
Silent film for me.
So the director of this film is Mark Myold. Is it Myold or Myold?
I thought it was Myold.
Is it Myold? Okay. Mark Myold. He gets his start in 1995 directing a show called The Stand-Up Show, then does Cold Feet in 1998, The Royal Family in 98, Randall and Hope and Hopkirk, The Fast Show in 2000, Ali G into House, the movie in 2002.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Well, that makes sense considering the producers come from the comedy world as well.
Shameless, the UK series in 2004. The Big White with Robin Williams in 2005. United States of Terror 2009. Entourage 2006. What's Your Number 2011. Once Upon a Time in 2011. Shameless, the American series 2011.
I didn't know that Shameless shared directors.
Mm-hmm. The Affair in 2014, Minority Report series in 2015, Game of Thrones 2015, Succession 2018, then he does The Menu in 2022, and most recently he has done Last of Us.
The Last
of Us, excuse me.
The video game series.
The video game series
Yeah.
on Max, yeah. Our writers on this are Seth Rees, who did he was a writer on Cheap Seats Without Ron Parker in 2005, College Humor Originals in 2009, Onion Sports Dome 2011, The Onion News Network 2011, Comedy Bang Bang 2013, the 66th Primetime Emmy Awards in 2014, Late Night with Seth Meyers 2014, and I was also a writer on The Menu, of course, in 2022, and The Regime in 2024.
I've not seen. Is The Regime out?
Yeah,
No.
I think it's streaming right now.
Yeah, I'd not heard of it.
I want to say Netflix or Prime. I can't remember which.
It's interesting because the producers on this, two of them are Will Ferrell and Adam McKay.
That is correct.
Famous for the Gary Sanchez production company and making comedies, and also founding Funny or Die.
Yeah, Funny or Die,
which makes sense that we're seeing a lot of people working in that realm of comedy.
And our other writer is Will Tracy. He was a writer on the Onion News Network in 2011, Onion's Extremely Accurate History of the Internet 2012, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver 2014, Succession 2019, The Menu 2022, and also The Regime in 2024.
went from writing just straight up comedy to like really intense stuff. Because Succession, I've heard, is very good. Talk about a show.
Fantastic.
Talk about a show I hear people talk about I've never seen.
Oh, you would love Succession.
Oh, so Dave's had time to watch Succession, everybody. So why aren't you watching the Mayans? Is it because they're Mexican?
That is not why. It's because I'm bad at TV shows when
they're not Succession.
They're not Succession or Below Deck, apparently. Moving on and wrapping us up for the crew is our cinematographer, Peter Deming. He gets his start as a second assistant camera on Roger Corman's Suburbia in 1983, The Party Animal in 1984. He does third unit on Bad Manners in 84. And then in 1987, he becomes the director of photography on a film called Evil Dead 2.
Really?
Then from Evil Dead 2, he goes to Hollywood Shuffle in 1987. He becomes the DP on a film called Scarecrows in 1988.
Scarecrows. Love that film. Love that goddamn movie.
Don't you love just, flying an airplane and cracking a window?
Yeah, just to get a little breeze into your hair. It's good stuff.
The Carrier in 1988. Purple People Eater 1988. Then he does House Party in 1990 as the director of photography. Drop Dead Fred 1991.
Oh, wow.
My Cousin Vinny 1991.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, excuse me, 92. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon in 93. Key West series in 93 as well. Son-in-Law 93. SFW in 94.
Okay.
Joe's Apartment 1996. The Lost Highway in 97.
Holy
Austin
shit.
Powers, International Man of Mystery in 97. Scream 2 in 97. Music of the Heart 99. Scream 3 in 2000. Mulholland Drive 2001. From Hell 2001. Austin Powers Goldmember 2002. Twisted with Angelina Jolie in 2004. I Heart Huckabees in 2004, which means that he was the man running camera when David O. Russell went off on Lily Tomlin in that famous
fake clip.
I thought there was two of them that weren't fake.
If that's not fake, I don't believe it.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
I'm pretty sure it was meant to get attention.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't buy it.
The Jacket 2005, Love Guru 2008, Drag Me to Hell 2009, Scream 4 2011, Cabin in the Woods 2011, Oz the Great and Powerful 2013, Now You See Me 2 2016, Twin Peaks 2017, The New Mutants 2020, Capone 2020 with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Where Al Capone literally shits the bed.
Well, I mean, he did it figuratively. Why not literally?
The Menu 2022, Shotgun Wedding 2022, and most recently, The Continental on Max in 2023.
Well, I want to mention that he shot Wes Craven's only non-horror film, Music of the Heart.
Yep.
I wanted to double confirm that before I brought it up.
Have you seen Music of the Heart?
I have not.
It's really
I've
good.
heard it's very, very good.
It's fantastic. So our synopsis from IMDb says, a young couple travels to a remote island to eat an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises.
I mean, that's as good as anything.
My synopsis?
Oh, no. Hold on.
A highly regarded gourmet chef hosts a private dinner for a group of wealthy individuals from different backgrounds, unaware this will be an evening of dark secrets and surprises for all attending.
Yeah, yours is less good.
Why you gotta hate on me?
Let's ask ChatGPT to make one for us.
Oh, God. And wrapping us up is our cast. We have Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Thank you. Who plays Margot. She gets her start in 2014 with the Vampire Academy. Then 2015 does The Witch. Viking Quest in 2015. Atlantis 2015. Morgan.
Wait, there was actually something called Viking Quest?
Mm-hmm. Netflix series.
Because that was the fake name. Wasn't it the fake name of the show on Entourage?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Victory! Yeah. Viking Quest.
Morgan 2016. Split 2016.
Of course.
Thoroughbreds 2017. Marrowbone 2017. The Miniaturist in 2017. Glass 2019. Peaky Blinders 2019. Emma 2020. New Mutants 2020. Queen's Gambit 2021. Last Night in Soho. Future episode, maybe, 2021.
Maybe. I do like that film.
The Northman. Not a future episode. 2022.
Not even vaguely.
The Menu 2022. Amsterdam 2022. Remember Amsterdam?
No.
No one does.
I will say, as you're reading these out loud, I'm starting to think Anya Taylor-Joy is like legitimately overexposed.
Yeah. Super Mario Brothers movie 2023 and Dune Part 2 in 2024.
What the hell did she do in the Super Mario Brothers movie?
She's the voice of Peach.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, and of course she has Furiosa coming out this year.
Well, of course. I mean, I've seen the ads again and again and again.
We also have Nicholas Hoult, who plays Tyler in the film. He gets his start in 96 with Intimate Reactions. Mr. White Goes to Westmire in 97. The Bill 2000. Waking the Dead 2001. About a Boy 2002. Does The Weatherman in 2005.
I do love that film.
That's a great movie. Kidulthood in 2007. Skins, the UK series in 2007. A Single Man. Clash of the Titans. X-Men First Class. Warm Bodies. Jack the Giant Slayer, The Young Ones, X-Men Days of Future Past, Dark Places. I forgot he was in that. He plays the son.
Oh, yeah, he is in that
Yep.
one.
Mad Max Fury Road 2015, Kill Your Friends 2015, X-Men Apocalypse 2016, The Current War, the Tesla movie that like never came out in theaters, even though we saw every trailer
Yeah,
for it.
they advertised it like crazy, and then it just never happened.
Deadpool 2 2018, The Favorite 2018, Tolkien 2019, Dark Phoenix 2019, The Great in 2020, Those Who Wish Me Dead 2021, The Menu 2022, Renfield 2023, and he's going to be the voice of John in the new Garfield movie this year.
Oh, nice.
And wrapping us up is Ralph Fiennes, who plays Chef Julian Slowick. He has 94 credits on his resume, which I'm sure you're not surprised by.
No, he's an old bastard.
Old bastard indeed. Gets a start in 91.
I thought he got started a lot later.
Yeah.
Or earlier. Yeah.
Earlier. 91 with Prime Suspect, Wuthering Heights 92, Schindler's List 93, Quiz Show 94, Strange Days 96. Have you seen Strange Days, by the way?
That doesn't ring a bell.
One of the most underrated sci-fi movies that is, I think it's difficult to find nowadays. I used to have a DVD of it, but he is trying to figure out who attacked his wife, and there's a whole cast of characters in it, and it's a really, really good drama. The English Patient 96, The Avengers 98, Prince of Egypt 98, End of the Affair, Red Dragon, Made in Manhattan, The Chum Scrubber, The Constant Gardener, The White Countess, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Land of the Blind, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, In Bruges, The Duchess, Hurt Locker, The Reader, Nanny McPhee Returns, Clash of the Titans 2010, Deathly Hallows Part 1 2010, Coriolanus in 2011, Deathly Hallows Part 2 2011, Wrath of the Titans, Great Expectations, Skyfall, Grand Budapest Hotel, Two Women, Spectre, Hail Caesar, Lego Batman Movie, Holmes and Watson, Lego Batman or Lego Movie 2, Doolittle, No Time to Die, The Kingsman, The Menu, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, and 3 more in 2024.
Jeez.
Yeah. The man is working. And at the time of this recording, The Menu is not currently streaming anywhere, but you can rent it and buy it very easily on digital library.
Unlike David, who doesn't own it in physical.
Well, I still watch it.
Sad.
Log this thing 4 times in my letterbox now.
Very sad.
First time watching, what'd you think?
What are you talking about now? No, well, the first time we saw this was in 2022 in the theater.
Correct. Yeah, we saw it like
You claim I was
weekend.
on my second viewing.
That's what I recall.
I don't remember seeing it twice, but it's possible.
I recall that you had already seen it, but I could be misremembering because I swear that I had an invitation to go with you guys, but something had kept me from going, and so we went over the weekend. Is how I remember it.
I mean, that could very well have happened. I only remember going to see it once with you off the top of my head. I remembered enjoying it very much. I did like how layered the story was. I did like what the film has to say about the desire for perfection, what service means, which I think is a big part of the film is what it means to serve. It doesn't, necessarily mean being a slave, but if you don't care about service, then you're not doing the job. I kind of like that mentality, that concept in the film. So I remember walking out of it and thinking, like, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And praying that Anya Taylor-Joy's eyes don't get any bigger for my own safety.
I remember walking out of the theater and being like, that was... It met all my expectations, but also it kind of went above them because...
I do remember halfway through the film, you were like, oh, this is one of those. And you put a beret and a scarf on. And a very small teacup.
Small teacup.
Like an incredibly tiny teacup, which you go... And then when I go, Dave, stop doing that, you'd be like, the air makes it taste
You're
better.
making me think of that freaking meme.
I know. Fuck it, let's watch Sleepaway Camp 2 again.
Yeah. But no, I was really excited for this movie. I remember when the trailer first dropped, I don't think I saw it in theaters for the first time. I think I saw it online. It was one of those movies that's like, this looks really interesting, and I hope it's good.
You were like, hey, a movie about overpriced food made by people who hate you. Finally, a film about white experience.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. How'd you know? But no, I just remember I was excited for this movie. I could not wait for it to, because I mean, by this point, I can't remember if we had really gone back to the theater much in...
We were going a lot in 2021.
Okay, it's kind of a little fuzzy
it was a weird time because it was a lot of older movies screening and small movies that don't usually go into theaters going into theaters.
That's what it was.
We saw a lot of stuff. Because the first time I was back in the theater for a new release movie was New Mutants.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, in Ohio, they opened the theaters. I want to say it was either in October or November.
Yeah.
Of 2020 was when the movie theaters reopened.
Again.
And I went and saw what was that movie about? Like the War with Grandpa?
Oh, the Robert De Niro movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was called War with Grandpa.
War with Grandpa.
I saw that. I saw a lot of stuff.
We saw that movie, The Stairs. Remember that?
Yeah. I didn't want to, but you made me.
But no, The Menu was one that I immediately knew that I loved it, and I was excited to go see it again. So you ready to get into this puppy?
What is it now?
The Menu.
We already have gotten into it. We started.
Oh, now we're starting
We
the actual
started already.
breakdown.
I know the breakdown.
So we are invited to the menu. That's the opening credit. That's literally the only credit we get. And that's when we meet up with Margot and Tyler. And Tyler is scolding Margot for smoking, saying that it's basically gonna deplete her taste buds. She's not gonna be able to taste the food. And we can tell that Tyler is really, really excited about what they're getting ready to do.
And high strung and excited. They're waiting on a boat.
Waiting on a boat to take them to a restaurant that is $12.50 a head. And there's only, I think, 12 people in attendance. I think 12 seats in attendance.
$12.50 a head.
Yeah,
what is it, Chipotle?
That's $1,250 a head.
Oh.
Yes. Chipotle prices.
No, sorry. I was thinking Chipotle 2019, but you're talking about Chipotle 2024. Oh, yeah.
And that's when we meet the rest of the people. There's like 3 tech bros that are going. There's a washed-up star played by John Leguizamo who's bringing his assistant along. There's 2 regulars that have been to this restaurant like over 10 times.
An older married couple.
There's a food critic who takes claim for basically giving Julian the spotlight.
It's a critic and her publisher.
Yep. And they all take the boat over to Hawthorn, enjoying a nice refresher of oysters on the boat.
Yes, and that's the beginning of it because what's Anya Taylor-Joy's character's name?
Margot.
Margot points out that it's delicious, but she just likes oysters.
Yeah, she would just like
she doesn't really care about the stuff on top.
Yeah.
Which was some reconstituted, fluffy, foamy bullshit.
Yeah. It's raw local oyster in a mignette emulsion with lemon caviar and an oyster leaf.
Oyster leaf.
Oyster leaf. I have the whole fucking menu pulled up.
Of course you do. but when she says that, her date is very perturbed.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, no. It's a whole thing. It all comes together. And then, of course, his big thing is like, you'll understand it all when you've eaten all of it because it tells a story.
Yeah, you have to figure out what the story of the menu is.
And that's the beginning of of him talking about how it all comes together. You have to take each experience and then try to piece it together. And that's why he's obsessed with the work of this guy, is because to him, he's a master storyteller as well as a masturbator.
Yes, a masturbator indeed. So we arrive on Hawthorn, and we are welcomed with a shot of this island that I basically told you, it just feels like all the life has been sucked out of it.
Well, I mean, it looks desolate for sure, yeah.
So the guests check in, and that's when we meet Elsa. She is Chef Slovik's right-hand person.
And Frost demon or whatever she is.
Yes. Let it go,
Elsa?
Henry.
Okay, I'll let it go. I'll let it go.
So the guests check in, we meet Elsa, and that's when we find out that Tyler originally had another date, but he has replaced her with Margot, and they were not notified ahead of time.
Well, awkward.
Yeah, awkward indeed. So she takes them on a tour of the 12-acre island of forest and pasture. She points out a boat that's pissing? Wow.
Well done.
Picking fresh scallops out of the water, and she takes them further on the tour, shows them their protein, shows them the quarters where they all sleep, and that's when we kind of get a first taste of how this is an odd experience, because they go into the chef's quarters, and it's just, I mean, it looks like a prison layout.
It literally has a prison toilet sink.
Toilet, prison shower.
Well, because prison toilet sinks are a thing. They're high efficiency, so it's a sink and a toilet, and there are 2 of them 3 feet apart, which means that if they're double occupied, it gets pretty intimate pretty quickly.
It does indeed.
But no, I mean, that's where the staff is, not the chef.
Not the chef, yeah.
But that's where the staff lives, and they live on the island. They mentioned that they are up at 6 a.m., and that final dinner service ends at 2
Yeah, and dinner is 4 hours long, and they do 6 hours of prep when they start their day.
So she says it would be silly not to live there because of how much time they dedicate.
Well, and she goes on this whole thing about how, they do this, they do this, they do this
together.
They gel. And that's when the group goes to enter Hawthorn, and Hawthorn is a restaurant that is set right on the water. It's a modernized, slanted roof.
Well, it's not modern. You mean postmodern?
Postmodern.
Yeah, all the architecture is extremely postmodern.
Postmodern AF.
Post Malone. Post Malone architecture.
So Tyler is losing his shit over the restaurant, and he sees the chefs cooking, the side chefs, and goes up to them. He's like, okay, we got to go see this. So he goes over, and he's like, are you using a such and such on that? And he's like, yeah, Mr. Such and such. And he's like, oh, you know my name? And he's like, we know everybody. He's like,
we like to know everyone we serve.
Go ahead and take your seat. Dinner will begin shortly. And Margot gives him crap because she's like, it seems like he knew your name, but you didn't ask him his. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't ask him his name.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, that's...
Tells
whatever.
him to take a seat, and that's when Chef Slowick comes out, and he steals the room. Everybody's looking at him, especially Tyler, and he's
when he said take a seat, I hoped Chris Hansen came out.
Why don't you have a seat? Go ahead, take a seat.
So, good news, bad news about this island.
Oh, God.
Got him.
That's a screen grab of the episode right there. My freaking eyes on that. So that's when they introduce their first dish, which is a mouche bouche, which is the appetizer. It's compressed and pickled cucumber melon, milk snow, charred lace.
Those are all words.
Those are all words. And we see the food critic Lillian making comments on the tasting that she said that they didn't say what kind of milk it is, and she thinks she tastes goat. The assistant is trying to wish Leguizamo best of luck. The tech bros are talking about life and being dicks. And Margot asks Tyler about the food, and he states that Chef plays with raw materials of life, adding that his obsession with Slowick, going on about how he's so impressed at his background, his pedigree, and all this stuff, and Margot's not impressed.
No, she's like being kind of bratty at this this juncture. She's just kind of like, you really like this stuff, and it's like, homie, of course he does. Why else would he? Well, there is one other reason to be there, for status.
Yes,
and frankly, I think it's less sad to be there because you like overpriced food than so that people will see you eating it.
So you can Instagram it, yeah.
Yeah, so you can put it on the gram.
So then we get to our first course, and that's when we see Slowick tasting something, and he just has no real passion. And basically the restaurants run like an assembly line in this sense. Like everybody is doing one thing at a time, preparing the dishes for every guest.
I have to disagree.
Okay.
No, it's not an assembly line.
Oh, not assembly line.
It is a hyper efficient kitchen.
Sorry.
I would say that they're so obsessed with efficiency and perfection. That's kind of the whole thing.
Well, everyone's on the same speed. Everybody's doing basically the same thing, prepping at the same time with these dishes, and they're all plating it exactly the same.
Yeah, they are.
It has to be.
But an assembly line suggests a degree of disconnection.
That's fair.
No, everyone in there is an expert.
Yeah. That is absolutely fair. So the rest of the chefs plate, and they are plating the island, which is raw diver scallop, pickled local seaweeds, and algae placed on rocks from the shore.
Crunchy. Rocks.
So Slowick welcomes everybody, telling them, the one thing I want for you to do tonight is not to eat. I want you to taste, savor, relish, consider every morsel, and accept all of it and forgive, which I love that message because on further viewings, it's a bit cryptic.
I love that too, because then I just immediately realized that I'm just Mason from Surviving the Game. I'm like, you do it your way, I'll do it mine, just horking down food as fast as you can.
So the guests are served, and Margot tries to strike conversation up, but Tyler is worried that he offended Chef Slowick because at one point he asked him, I can't remember, he was, Slowick was introducing the dish, and he interrupts him, and he's like, oh, excuse me. And he's like, oh, no, chef, go ahead.
Yeah, he wanted to ask something about what he tasted, I think it was.
So the food critic is doing her bullshit and nitpicking it, and Leguizamo is then questioned about what he's going to do for this food travel show that he's going to go on.
Yeah, he's clearly playing a washed-up actor.
We'll get to who he's playing at the end.
I was going to say, because Leguizamo said he kind of based it on someone he had encountered.
Yeah.
But he's playing like a washed-up actor who's trying to start a new part of his career by having a streaming show about traveling and eating fancy food.
Because his assistant asked him, how is it? And he's like, oh, it's good. She's like, well, if you're going to do the show, you've got to have...
It can't be good. It has to be amazing. It has to be great.
So then he pitches this bullshit thing about how they were going to go to, the hills of El Salvador. And
no, they go to Italy, and he'll be on a blue Vespa, and he'll go to where the guy makes the cheese, and he'll go, oh my God, I'll chew on the cheese, I'll close my eyes, I'll fake an orgasm, then boom, we're in Rio.
Oh, and then he talks about, how racism's bad.
Oh, and he's like, then we'll be in Rio, I'll talk about how racism is bad and everything, and then I'll get an Emmy. Yeah.
She's not impressed. So we get to the second course. Slowick claps his hands, and that's what Chef Slowick does in this movie every time to bring attention when they're starting the dish, is he just brings his hands together real quick.
Incredibly loud clap.
And he's introducing the bread course of the film, but with one change, because he talks about how bread is, the common man's meal. It's been around for as long as anybody can remember, except this time they're going to be served a bread plate that's breadless.
Yeah, no bread for them. But they do get the accoutrement.
Savory accoutrement.
Yeah.
So
nothing to put it on.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
So they're served a breadless bread plate, and the guests are served these dishes with just the accompaniments. And the food critic points out that like this is wild, like this is crazy. Oh, I think I have a split emulsion on the accompaniment. And she's like, well, they shouldn't be serving that. Tyler, of course, is losing his shit over the experience, and Margot states how Slowick is basically insulting everyone by serving this. Like she's like, no, I know what insulting is like, and this is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's like,
you
no,
serve
you don't
people
understand.
bread. You don't serve them not bread.
Yeah, so Margot keeps going on with that, and then Elsa serves the critic another broken emulsion, courtesy of Chef Slowick.
Except it's 20 times the size.
20
it's like the size of a cereal bowl instead of a little dot. It's also mentioned as a side note, the tech bros even mentioned, because they're getting frustrated, they start asking for bread.
Yeah.
But the reason is they mention that apparently they're famous for their bread.
They're famous for their bread. Famous for their bread, and they don't serve it because they're not the common men.
No, you all are anything but common.
So they go and ask for bread, including some gluten-free. Elsa refuses, and the tech bros are like, well, don't you know who we are? And she's like, yeah, I know exactly who you are. And they're like, are you sure you know who we are? And she's like, yeah. And it's like, so you know we work for Doug Varick, who owns the restaurant. And she's like, no, you will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve.
Yeah, she whispers that in one of his ears. Yeah, you'll eat less than you desire, but more than you deserve.
So Margot wants nothing to do with the plate. Tyler goes to take it, and in doing so, knocks over a wine glass, breaking the wine glass and drawing attention. And Slowick comes over asking why Margot hasn't touched her food. And she's like, I guess I'm just not really hungry.
She said there is no food.
Oh, yeah, there is no food.
That was her first point.
Yeah.
There is no food.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, no, like there's absolutely food there. And she's like, well, I'm saving it for the better courses. I don't want to fill up. He's like, oh, no. I've painstakingly, planned this
so
menu
you won't
out.
fill up.
You won't fill out. Now the portions are perfect. And he tells her the menu's designed specifically so portions won't overfill you. And then walks over to the woman's table that we see just guzzling wine this entire time that is not addressed yet.
Yeah, there's a little old lady just silently pounding wine.
Yeah. So then we get to the third course, and we see the chefs preparing the next dish. More wine is poured, and Margot looks over at one of the regulars, who's Richard, and Anne, his wife, asks, do we know her? She looks familiar. And he's like, no, we don't know her. So then Slowick serves the next course, explaining a taco night as the next dish, basically, and tells the story.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
When I was a boy, which I was like, I don't care where you grew up, man. He's like some kind of European. Well, he's some kind of European, but he's like, we had Taco Tuesday, and I don't think he's like in 1960 something in the middle of the country.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe. I grew up with a Mexican stepdad, like, but tacos were already ubiquitous to the world because of Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But I always found that funny. I was like, we're like lower class, middle class white Americans making tacos in like the 60s.
Taco Tuesday.
They might have been.
Yeah.
I could just be wrong. I mean, I was born in 86. What the hell do I know about anything? Not much.
We never had a Taco Tuesday growing up, sadly.
Oh, we didn't. Well, for the record, my family, we didn't have Taco Tuesday either.
Yeah.
We had Taco Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But not Tuesday.
But never Tuesday. No. Tuesday was for borscht.
Borscht?
Of course. No.
Oh, my God.
But, actually, we didn't eat tacos as much as... Okay.
You had nachos more, it seems like, from what you told me.
That was a weekend thing.
Oh, okay.
That was like... For lack of a better term, that was when we couldn't afford pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was nachos. We would have, like, if we had, like, friends coming over or whatever. I mean, not very little.
Yeah.
We had friends coming over or whatever. They would make up a bunch of nachos because it was much cheaper than ordering a bunch of pizzas.
So good right now.
You've had my nachos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my nachos are amazing. And actually, that's another reason I connect with this movie is I love to cook.
Yeah.
And I really love to make the people eating my food happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't obsess over what I think is perfect.
I mean, you do hold a gun on me half the time you make noodles while I'm eating them.
But that's just for fun. It has nothing to do with the noodles.
Are the noodles good?
Are they good? It's like, be aware, the answer may result in things you're not expecting. They're delicious. Bang! Well, they'll never be better, so I have to end you now. But no. So growing up, eating food with a lot of Mexican, inspiration.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had tortilla on the table all the time.
Yeah.
Every meal there'd be tortilla, and you could make anything a taco. We would sit down to breakfast, and instead of toast, you just have a bunch of tortilla. And if you were really, really hungry, you'd be like, oh, I'm putting my eggs and stuff in the tortilla and eating it instead of just eating it regularly.
Yeah.
It was just always an option to add tortilla.
You want to make you really, really sad real quick?
I mean, I'm already very sad, but go on.
So I remember when I was home for like the first couple of days of quarantine, when they had sent us home from work and we were working from home, I remembered that I had bought like several TV dinners, one of which I like the Stouffer's spaghetti and meatballs. Yeah, it's not amazing, but I like it.
It is a 4 out of 10 on sad.
So,
oh dear God, I'm scared. I have do shivers now.
There was a segment in the show iCarly where at one time they made spaghetti tacos, and I had tortillas, and I had lost the will to live, being home alone during quarantine. So I remember I took my heated spaghetti out of the oven or out of the microwave, and took the plastic all the way off, and just took a tortilla and just dumped it right in there, and I had a spaghetti taco, and it was magical.
I mean, first of all, it's called piata. Have you ever had a piata?
I've had piata, yes.
It's like Italian burrito, but with pasta inside.
Yes.
That is one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, the more will come, I'm sure.
But I mean, I'm sure alcohol wasn't involved, right? You were drunk. You don't act like you were.
No, I
wasn't.
I was not buzzed. I was not buzzed for that one. For the first one, I was not buzzed for the first one.
You made more than one spaghetti taco?
I like the taste of it. I had like 3 of those TV dinners ready to go.
I think you should make a spaghetti baked potato and just like drill a hole in the potato and fill it with that.
I could probably make a very sad YouTube chef channel.
I feel like you could have stopped halfway through the sentence. I could make a very sad.
I could make a very sad. So he tells a story about taco night. When he was 7, his father came home drunk, which was not uncommon. And his mother and father fought, and he ended up, his father ended up getting the phone cord and wrapping it around his mother's neck. Slowick, being the kid that he was, went and reached for the first thing he saw, which was kitchen scissors, and stabbed his father in the thigh. Provoking a memory, which is what he calls this dish, memory, which is house-smoked brizza chicken thigh a la pastor with tortillas made with heirloom masa, green salsa cubes, and that's it.
Yeah, simple thing, I suppose.
Simple thing, except these tortillas, they're well known for, but this time they're very special because they use this new photo printer they have to put images on the tortillas.
A laser engraver puts images on them, and each chicken thigh is served with a scissor.
With a scissor in it.
Stabbed into the thigh, which I thought was a beautiful touch.
Yes. So that's when we are revealed to see what the pictures are, and at first we see that the regulars are served, and it's pictures of Richard being out with different women. The Lillian and her assistant are served pictures of restaurants that closed because of her reviews. We also see the tech bros are served pictures on their tortillas that show fraud and embezzlement through the restaurant.
Yeah, it's just straight up photos of financial records,
financial statements,
where they've been making invoices that aren't real.
Yeah, and Tyler has served pictures of him taking pictures of the food, because that's one thing that Slowick says that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the night, is that they do not want any photos.
No photos, and he can't help himself.
Cannot help himself. So Elsa confirms what they are as the tech bros call her over, and she's like, "That's a tortilla," and like goes into the making of it again.
That's my favorite. That's a tortilla.
Yeah,
she does the thing. Tortilla. You know,
and she's like, and this is actually one showing that you guys have committed fraud and embezzlement through the restaurant, making false invoices. So
yeah, paying fake invoices.
Yeah, and so the tech bros are like, well, how the hell they get this? It's not good. And he's like, well, they can't show us this because them showing us this would convict Doug Varick, who's the restaurant owner. We'll get to him later.
Yeah.
So Tyler scolds Margot for wanting to send the food back, because she's like, well, they can't like take your picture without telling you. So you
can't take your picture without your consent.
So she's like, excuse me, and
which is so stupid. He's in their restaurant.
Yeah,
but anyway, go ahead.
He fucking scolds her like a child.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, did you just like snap at me?
And that's her date.
Yeah.
Her date scolding her like a child.
And that's when she gets up to go to the bathroom, and Elsa stops her before entering one of the doors at the end of the restaurant. And she's like, where's the bathroom? And she shows her the right door. Margot asks, what's behind this door? And she says, something very special.
Aww.
So in the bathroom, Margot sees a man outside carrying angel wings towards the water, which we'll get to in a second as well. And she lights up another cigarette as Chef Slowick comes in asking why she hasn't eaten any of the food. And she asks, why do you care? And Slowick says he takes it very seriously, and this wounds him.
He cornered her in the can.
Yeah. Comes into the bathroom. And Margot states that she's not very hungry. Slowick asks...
No, you were right. She wasn't very hungry.
Slowick asks her who she is, and she says Margot Mills, and born in Grand Island, Nebraska, or from Grand Island, Nebraska. Slowick isn't convinced, asking who she really is, adding she shouldn't be here today, and Margot tells him to get the fuck out of her way.
Well, I mean, it's she was a lot kinder to someone following her into the can than I would be.
So then the fourth course is served, and we see the chefs roll out a white tarp as they begin to decorate it with garnish. And Slowick introduces the course, but the Tech brothers interrupt him. And Slowick, they're like, what's going on? And they're like, can I please finish my demonstration first? So then he introduces Chef Jeremy Loudon, who created the next dish called the mess. And he explains how Jeremy wrote him a letter to come work at Hawthorn, adding that he's talented, he's good, but he's not great, and he'll never be great. Jeremy confirms this as Slowick continues that the pressure got to him and that there was no way for him to avoid the mess, no way for him to be perfect. He asks Jeremy if he wants his life, and Jeremy states no. Slowick then kisses him on the cheek.
Well, he doesn't. This is a point that I think is super important.
Okay.
He asks him, do you want my life?
You want my life.
And he's like, not my success, not my talent, my life, what I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
No.
And I love that moment because there is as not to brag, but as a person who's had kind of sort of their dream job for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of, because I mean, I could talk for hours about, how unpleasant and challenging it has been just this week. But
you love what you do. You never work a day in your life.
Just freaking stab you in your thigh with
the record.
With
he hates
scissor.
that phrase.
I do, because it's a total piece of fucking lie.
Continue.
It's a piece of lie.
Piece of lie.
So, no, but that being said, there was a fear when I first started doing what I was passionate about for a living. I was like, oh my God, once I get successful enough, what if I don't like it?
Yeah.
What if I get the things I've always wanted and then I'm like, this sucks. And I still have that fear every now and then because some days for those who don't know, I make movies for a living. I produce and direct and distribute films. And it's a super hard, super competitive business. You have to be very creative. You have to be totally ready for famine versus feast. Feast is rare, real rare since COVID. So you have to be ready for all of that. And there are totally days where I'm like, man, was this the right call?
Was the right decision?
There's a joke I say to myself all the time, which is I should have bought the damn juicers. Have I told you that story? I don't want to tell the long story of it. Maybe some other show I will, but we've already been John. But at one point in my life, I had a choice between either going back to Ohio and trying to keep doing film or staying in Jersey and selling juicers on a boardwalk. I had access to the boardwalk. The guy who was running that business was going to quit. He was going to sell me all his juicers. And all I had to do was sell my car and I could buy the juicers.
Damn.
And then I'd be living on a boardwalk so I could walk to work and stuff. And I really thought about it.
Yeah.
And I came closer than you might think to doing it.
I can believe that.
So sometimes when I'm fed up with work or when I'm stuck fucking redlining a contract for a whole goddamn afternoon because some companies are so old school, they're like, here's our 47-page contract. And I'm like, I did business with a bigger company than you last week and it was 11 pages.
Yeah, that pissed me off too.
But it's just is what it is. You have to sit there and redline it. I will, like, in my head or sometimes out loud, I'll just go, I should have chose the juicers. So anyway,
fair enough.
That being said, I really identified with Jeremy's plight.
Yeah.
Because it is scary to want to be the best is honestly kind of a damning thing. That's something I'm very proud that I've never thought about being the best. I don't care. No, I believe that you have to know thyself. And I never, even as a little boy, when I had all the dreams in the world, all I've ever wanted in life, I wanted to be a pro wrestler and I wanted to be a movie director. I never wanted to be the best at either of those things.
Yeah, you just wanted to do them.
I just wanted to do them. Granted, maybe some of that comes from growing up in poverty, whatever. But I just was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could do that and not like live in a crack house? That was my goal.
That's fair.
So anyway, Jeremy
you said crack
gets what he
house.
deserves.
Are you sure that wasn't a haunted house?
I mean, it's both. Come on in, boys. It's scary in here. Welcome to hell, motherfuckers.
So Jeremy is handed a gun then, and Chef introduces him and the mess, and Jeremy blows his brains out in front of everybody, and they put a tarp up behind him so it makes like a nice artistic spat.
They have a plastic behind him, but the tarp under his body, and so he'll fall down there and bleed out. And they had like decorated with flowers, and they roll it up. Everybody's freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
But they're so jaded, and it's like a combo of the people there are so jaded, but also so fucking spoiled and entitled. Although I don't know if you can call someone entitled to pay $12.50 a head to go to a restaurant. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, they paid. But they're so like jaded and expecting so much that they're scared for a second, and then they're immediately like, "Well, this has got to be.
It's got to be part of the theater.
This has got to be part of this."
Yeah,
event.
And Lillian's the food critic is the first one to say, "Oh, it's just theater. Oh, they're such good actors, and it's all part of the menu as they are served the mess." Which is
she became convinced that her and her friend were the only not actors.
That comes later.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just remember that is what she says.
The mess, which is a pressure cooked vegetables, a roasted fillet, potato. Is it confit or? Confit.
You're French. You should get this.
Beef juice and bone marrow. And
beef jus.
And then it says, rest in peace, Jeremy Loudon.
You hear how Dave would try saying jus?
Jus.
Oh, you heard that, everybody. Dave took a side on Israel and Palestine. He's like, please stop. Please stop.
No one is dining in it until Slowick shouts, eat! And then everybody starts digging into it. The regulars go to leave, and Elsa stops them, and she's like, we're going to take the boat out of here. And she's like, well, there's no boat to leave on. He's like, well, then I'll call a helicopter. And she's like, well, it's going to be hard with no phone service. And he's like, don't worry, honey, I'll handle this. And she's like, left hand or right hand? And he's like, what? And she's like, which hand will you handle this with? And she's like, would you like us to decide? Right hand, ring finger.
Left hand.
Or left hand, ring finger. Yeah. So we see the chef come out and chop Richard's ring finger right off, and everybody freaks out again.
It's a sous chef, not the main
guy.
guy.
Sous chef, yeah. And Leguizamo admits that he doesn't know Slowick at this point, because that was one thing, too.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a name-dropping whore.
Yeah, name-dropping whore.
Literally what he says.
And Lillian is also convinced that the whole thing is for their benefit now.
Oh, yeah, it was after the finger chops that she's completely like, oh, they're all actors. Because she turns to Leguizamo and goes, excellent acting. And he goes, what the fuck are you talking about, lady?
What are you talking about, lady? So Chef Slowick summons Margot to the kitchen, and he asks her again who she is, adding that he served many Margaux, and she is no Margot. He adds that the menu has been painstakingly planned, and he needs to figure out where to sit her, with them or with the guests. And Margot says, well, if I choose right, do I get to live? And he's like, oh, no, everyone's dying at
Everyone
the end of the
will
night.
be dying.
That's how the menu's perfected. So he gives her 15 minutes to decide before sending her back to her seat, and he tells the chefs that he's plating in 5 and that he loves them all. And he does so by going, I love you all. And they go, we love you too, chef.
Yeah, it's very romantic.
Very romantic. So Margot returns to the table, slapping Tyler, and he's upset because he's thinking that she got a crash course in the kitchen or tasted something that he didn't get to taste.
Yeah, that she got some kind of an
vegetable or protein
experience.
Slap. Vegetable or protein. He's such a dick.
Oh, because he thinks she got to spy what's next. And no.
So that's when we're introduced to the palate cleanser, which is wild bergamot and clover tea. And Leguizamo is trying to inspire the Tech brothers to break code and go and take over the kitchen.
Yeah, well, his attitude, which is honestly not a bad thought, I guess, is that that with him there's 4 able-bodied guys.
Yeah.
So if the moment they get their silverware, just go for it.
Yeah.
Maybe they could make a fight out.
Oh, and I just realized I forgot what Leguizamo was served. He was served on his tortilla one of his old movies called Calling Dr. Sunshine.
Yeah, Calling Dr. Sunshine, which comes up more.
It was a bomb. That's all he basically says that we know now.
He said it was like a bad script.
Great vacation.
He said great experience.
Great experience.
Yeah, he said like bad script, bad role, or bad script, stupid role, great experience.
Yeah. So that's when he tells them, when we come back, we can take the knives and we can get them all. Like that's what I did in this action movie. So the chefs come back over, and that's when one of the Tech brothers goes to try and break a window with the chair, but the window does not break at all, and Elsa comes over, and she's like, let me help you back to your table. So Slowick then explains the palate cleanser and asking if there's any questions about him or Hawthorn or tonight's experience, and that's when Leguizamo asks about the evening, and Slowick tells him that this is all due to their consequences. They all should know why they're here.
Yeah!
Pointing out how Lillian's ego was fed when he sent her the invitation, and how she has boosted the egos of others as well. Regulars, he goes to ask how many times they've come here, or ask them if they know how many times they come here. 11 times they've been at this restaurant.
Yeah, they don't know that he's like, I don't know, 6, 7,
11 times.
11 times. And he can't name a single dish he's eaten
Ask him to name a single dish, and the wife's like, cod. And he's like, it wasn't cod, you fucking donkey. It was halibut. Rare, spotted halibut.
Just for the halibut.
Just for the halibut, indeed. So he continues that he's been trying to satisfy clientele who cannot be satisfied, and that's when the Tech brothers bring up Doug Varick. Like, they're like, well, you say this is your restaurant. It's not your restaurant. He's like, oh, no, you're absolutely right. Doug Varick is the owner. He's the one that helped me out with this, but tonight, I own Doug Varick.
Yeah, and that's when he reveals...
Yes.
A man, because he's an angel investor.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yes.
Because they have him tied to a ratchet system, being rised up into the sky with angel wings on.
That Margot saw the guy carrying in the previous scene.
And then, which is important because that tells you that like every second there's prep going on.
Yeah.
So when she's in the bathroom, she sees somebody taking those wings out. Just like when you're walking through the kitchen, people are cutting carrots. It's all the same thing. It's all part of that experience.
Yeah.
It's all part of the kitchen.
Well, it's all part of the experience.
And that's, but so he raises up and then they drop him down and he dies. And they drown him.
Well, the best thing is the reason that he's drowning is because, I mean, obviously because he wants to get his revenge, but he says, you know, well, he kept you open during COVID. And he's like, yeah, he did. But he also would regularly make changes to the menu, ask for substitutions, and there are no substitutions at Hawthorn. So lowers him in the water, and he's like, do you hear that? That's the sound of me being free. And the one thing I love about that scene is fucking Tyler is eyes closed listening as Chef is like, do you hear that?
Oh, yeah, he's so into it.
He's taking it all in. So the timer goes off, and now it's time for Margot to speak with Slowick again in his office, and he asks her if she's made up her mind. She has no answer for him, and that's when he asks, how does she know Richard? He goes, you know, I've seen you two looking at each other. You know, how do you know her? And that's when we find out that Margot is a... I can't think of the word. Escort.
Whore!
Escort. And that in this case in particular, Richard was a guy that picked her up and had her go back with him, and she was requested to watch him jerk off and look into his eyes while he did so. And
tell him
that he loved her.
Well, tell him good things. Agree with him. That was the
agree
thing.
with him.
And then eventually she mentions that he had her say he was a good dad.
He was a good dad.
Awkward.
And I love that Slowick is like, romantic.
Oh, he's a romantic. No, I don't even think he was being funny.
No.
I think he meant it. He was just like, oh, he's a romantic.
So Slowick asks if she enjoys providing the services, and she says she used to. So Margot asks him the same, and Slowick says that he used to as well, but he hasn't had a desire to cook in ages, which keep that in mind. So he invites Margot to accompany him as they return to the dining room, requesting everyone to join him out in the evening air. And outside, Slowick introduces sous chef Catherine Keller, and she explains that 3 years ago, Chef Slowick tried to fuck her. She refused. He tried again and again, and she kept refusing him, even to the point that he didn't speak to her for 8 months, but he kept her on the team because he can do that.
Yeah, because he's able to do that, yeah.
And that's when she introduces the next course, Man's Folly. Before stabbing him in the thigh with scissors, she takes the blood off his thigh, wipes it across his chef's jacket, and Slowick explains that the male diners now can try to escape. They're going to have a 45-second head start.
Just like a man. You forgot the part where he apologizes to her.
Oh,
too.
He says, I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah. She does. Yeah. She stabs him, does it, and he says, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah. So he explains the male diners now have a 45-second head start to try and escape. Of course, one takes off running, and he goes, okay, that time starts now. So they all go running, and that's when Chef Catherine invites the women back inside for the restaurant. The timer sounds, and all the chefs go off to find the men. So that's when we are introduced to the Man's Folly actual a dish, which is Dungeness crab, fermented yogurt,
Dungeness crab.
Dungeness, excuse me. I don't know these terms.
Dungeness crab just sounds real appetizing.
Dried sea lettuce and uembashi kelp. So inside, the ladies enjoy a dish as Lillian tries to win over Chef Catherine, and she's like, this is so good, and Catherine's like, a long time ago that would have meant something to me, and she starts crying. And that's when all the women start like, oh no, it's so good. And
she even says like, you should have your own place. I could help you with that. And she's like, oh no. The everyone dying was my idea. My pitch, actually.
Yeah. So Anne asks Margot, how does she know Richard? And she confirms that she does. And that's when we see Anne just shoot down her wine. The assistant asks if they're all really dying. And that's when Catherine confirms that starting the menu or ending the menu with them dying was her idea. And she's really proud of it.
Yeah.
So slowly.
That was my pitch.
Yeah. Slowly, all the men are caught, minus Phil, who is the assistant of Lillian. And he's hiding in a chicken coop. And he's given a special bite for the last guest being caught, which is an Astrid egg. A special bite for the last guest to be caught, which is egg, creme fraiche, and maple.
Man, you are not a fine dining expert.
No, I'm not.
Or a French speaker.
No, I'm not.
Well, enjoy that. That's the only compliment you'll get your entire life from me.
Inside, Margot
not a
admits,
French speaker.
And Margot admits her name is actually Erin, and she's from Massachusetts as the men return. And Tyler, being the dick that he is, goes and grabs the Men's Folly dish to try and get it. And that's when we see that Richard also realizes that Margot and Anne have talked, and he's like, oh no.
Oh, no.
So Slowick states the menu cannot resume until they deal with the unresolved matter, going to Tyler and asking, why is he here? Exposing that Tyler knew all of the evening's events ahead of time, 8 months ahead of time. Also revealing that he brought Margot because the other date fell through and they don't have seating for just one.
And Margot gets back because now she's like, you invited me to
knowing
die.
That I would die.
You knew that I was going to friggin' die.
So she starts attacking him, and that's when Chef is impressed by Tyler, stating that he's a cook. And since he's a cook, He belongs in the kitchen.
Because he's clearly a foodie. He's clearly like studied all of these styles and techniques. He's fascinated by food.
So he presents him with a chef's jacket, and Slowick personalizes it by writing his name on it in marker, and that's when he tells Tyler to cook. And Elsa summons everyone into the kitchen for a demonstration, and Tyler requests leeks, shallots, butter, lamb, but we got to back up because one of the things is he's trying to get these out as chefs like asking him for him. At one point, he's like, "Shit, would you like some shit?
Would you like some shit? Shit, please." Yeah.
So he cooks a dish, showing nerves. He's nervous the entire time because at one point he's chopping. He's like, "Oh, a new chopping technique I'm not familiar with."
Yeah, he's just messily chopping up everything.
So he serves it to Slowick, who acts impressed. He takes a bite and he's like, "Wow, I'm impressed to say it's quite bad." And that's when Tyler's bullshit is shown on screen, which is undercooked lamb, inedible shallot leek butter sauce, and utter lack of cohesion. Harsh.
And it is harsh. It's actually kind of sad to see somebody just go like, "Oh, you care about one thing. Well, fuck you."
And then he tells him that he's why the mystery has been drained from their art before whispering something in his ear that we don't hear. And that's when Tyler breaks down, removing his chef jacket and walking off into the back.
I'm sure he's fine.
He's going to be fine. Yeah, he's probably just hanging around somewhere.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Slowick apologizes to everyone for the demonstration as it wasn't part of the menu, and he has Margot come with him, telling her that they need to prepare for the dessert, and they need a large barrel that Elsa forgot, and asking her to retrieve it from the smokehouse, which she saw earlier on the tour. Elsa gives her the key, and Margot goes out, catching sight of Tyler, who has hung himself in the back kitchen.
So you know why Tyler couldn't cook?
Why?
He has no sense of other people.
No.
He's entirely selfish.
Yeah.
He has no desire to make others happy.
No.
Whatsoever.
It's all about him, because that's the one thing I picked up on this viewing is that he's telling everybody in regards to Margot for the most part of what he knows about the dish, all the expertise about it and everything. But again, he can't do anything even when he's asked to.
Well, he can't, but I really think that the point of that is because he just has no selflessness in him at all. Yeah. He has no desire to make anyone happy other than himself.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you don't, like I said, I love to cook.
Yeah.
And it takes a degree of love and joy to cook, especially when you're cooking something complex, when you know that you could literally just fucking make a box of macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
But you're with, a loved one, your girlfriend, a friend. Like I cooked the latkes at a Seder a couple weeks back, and I love doing it. But it is messy and unpleasant. I refuse to use the grating methods, non-traditional grating methods on the onions.
Yeah.
So I'm just like tears and burning face because it's like, no, this is how I was taught. I want to do it the way the family way.
I've got to give you props because I know I've mentioned on the show before in this episode too, but like you're a really good chef.
Thank you. Well, I'm not a chef. Yeah, I'm a cook.
Yeah.
Chefs are a whole other.
I still really wish that you would make that ghost chili ramen again. That was so good.
I will soon. I will tell you what. When winter starts, you ask for it. We'll go make it happen.
Is winter coming?
I don't know anymore. but all I'm saying is that you have to have a desire to make another person happy to cook a great meal.
Absolutely.
And it is not always easy. You have to use butter. That's it.
I like butter.
That's the whole trick. Just use butter and everyone will love it.
So Slowick goes to introduce the next dish, but is stopped by Leguizamo asking, why is he being punished? And Slowick explains he went to see Calling Dr. Sunshine on Sunday, his only day off, and he didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. He says he saw it alone in the cinema, didn't enjoy it, calling him pitiful artist. And Leguizamo asks about his assistant, and he goes, "What school did you go to?" And she goes, "Brown. Student loans? No. Sorry, you're dying tonight."
Yeah, you're not one of us.
So Margot reaches the smokehouse, but instead goes into Slowick's house, which they saw earlier on the tour, revealing an exact setup like Hawthorn restaurant inside his house.
So his house is a bed and a futon, or like a couch, and like a few of those things. And then just the exact same
replica.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Which is sincerely bizarre.
Yeah. I remember the first time in theater seeing that, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know. He goes to sleep every night in front of the exact same place he works every day.
Yeah.
But it's different, but the same. It's a very bizarre twist.
So that's when Elsa catches her inside, stating no one is allowed inside Chef's quarters, adding that she takes care of the customers so Chef can take care of the menu. And Margot questions why would she die for her, or why would she die for him? And that's when Elsa says, "Do you think he told me about the barrel?" and charges at her with a knife and starts attacking her. They fight, which ends up with Elsa stabbed in the throat. So Elsa is dead now inside Slowick's house. And after that, Margot goes to another door and finds a radio inside, but inside before that, She sees all these pictures and articles of Slowik's previous restaurants, including one for Hamburger Howie's, where he was the Employee of the Month in 1987, and he has a big smile on his face.
He's so happy.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to say about this as we get further in.
So there's an interesting part I'll get to when we get to the
It's
trivia.
not interesting.
Shut up. So like I said, she also finds a radio and tries to call out on it, and that's when Margot returns with the barrel as the tech bro is getting served a birthday cake, and that's when he looks at his buddies and goes, "You told them it was my birthday?" And the guy was like, "About 3 hours ago, this seemed funnier."
Yeah, about 3 hours ago, this seemed pretty funny.
So Slowik tells her to take her seat, and then he states that everything tonight is egoless, and he is releasing his pain, and that he feels good about it, demonstrating that a chef's hands, can contain heat. He puts it over a flame and holds it there, and that's when suddenly we hear the sound of a boat. So Margot got through to the Coast Guard.
Have you ever heard the term chef hands?
Chef hands, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it just means that you have, you're able to handle heat.
He says that you can carry a blazing pan to your table, like from the oven to the table with no issue whatsoever.
Yeah, which, I mean, I've seen some people with crazy chef hands.
Yeah. So Slowik tells her to take her seat, and he tells everybody to start cleaning up the dining room, and that's when he also says, don't bring any attention to this. You don't want this Coast Guard men to die. But also, one question you should ask yourself is, why didn't you all try to fight harder? There's more of us than there are of you. You probably could have won.
I mean, and that's a classic horror movie conundrum, too. It's like, if you're stuck on the ski lift, do you just jump? Or do you wait until you're weak to jump?
God. The guard walks in asking if anybody called for a distress order. No one moves. No one says anything. And that's when he recognizes Leguizamo, stating that he's a big fan, and one of his favorite movies is Calling Dr. Sunshine.
Yes, and I think that that's really important. Oh, you think so, too?
Because it gives away that he may or may not be a part of this, is what I saw it as.
I think it's because Dr. Sunshine, and we'll get into it more in a second, is Leguizamo's character's Cheeseburger.
Oh. Okay. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So then he recognizes Leguizamo, states he's a big fan, and of course Slowik is like, "Would you like an autograph?" So Leguizamo's like, "Well, I don't have a pen and paper." They bring it out to him. He writes it, and he's like, "Thank you." And that's when the note's revealed to say, "Help us." The guard draws his gun, telling Slowik to put his hands on his head, drop to the floor, and the guests are like, shoot him, like it's all him. And of course, Phil, the Lillian's assistant, is like, fuck you. And he goes to turn the gun on Margot, revealing the gun is fake and actually a lighter as he lights the candle on Margot's table.
Yeah, it's a good fake out. It's a solid fake out.
And he's part of the chef's staff, so he returns to the kitchen, and Slowik confronts Margot for breaking her bond of trust and says, "I was wrong about you. You are meant to be with them."
Ooh.
So we see the chef return to the kitchen. Margot contemplates for a second before standing up and doing her own interpretation of the chef's clap.
I love this part. This is what made the film a much had the film have a staying impact on me.
Yeah.
Up until this point, it was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But the way they end it is truly excellent. If you have not seen the film, you may want to just go rent it right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but I'm really excited to spoil it.
So here we go. So Margot contemplates, she stands up, does the chef clap, and that's when she says that she is not satisfied and she would like to send her food back. And Slowik exits the kitchen, apologizing, asking what about the food is wrong, and she states he's taken the joy out of eating. This food is made with no love, and Slowik argues, well, we only cook with love here at Hawthorn.
We all know love is the most important ingredient. And then it says, do we cook with love? Yes, chef. It's like, and that's like the most not loving thing ever, that they all have to yell, yes, chef.
So Margot states he cooks with obsession, not love. Hot dishes are cold, and she's bored. And the worst part of it is, I'm still fucking hungry.
And I love that because the idea you cook with obsession, not love. Listen, as your style guy,
lifestyle coach,
as your lifestyle coach, folks, take a moment and think about some of the worst decisions in your personal life are probably when you did something out of obsession and not love.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love that little moment.
Yeah.
Because she's completely right. And this movie has a lot to say about being in the service industry, which I'll dive into in a second.
Yeah.
But keep going, Dave.
So she says that, he asks, well, what are you hungry for? What do you have? Well, we have everything here. And she goes, you know what I would really want? A cheeseburger. And we see Slowik's eyes just light up a little bit.
Yeah, just a smidgen.
Yeah, and he goes, a cheeseburger, and she says, and not some deconstructed bullshit, a real cheeseburger, and he's like, well, how do you want it? Medium rare, or medium? And she what cheese? American cheese. Oh, American cheese is the best. And
of course, because American cheese doesn't split when it melts.
Yeah, and how much will that set me back? $9.95. Does it come with fries? Is the fryer still on? Yes, chef. Crinkle cut or julienne?
I love that too, yeah.
And that's when we watch Slowick craft a delicious-looking cheeseburger, and the best part of this is he's smiling for the first time while he cooks.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
2 meatballs.
Yep.
He puts them on the stove,
Spices
flattens them, and then puts salt and pepper. Nothing crazy.
Nothing
salt,
crazy.
pepper. He does do a few little chefy tricks to make it even better. He puts onions on, then flips it with the
Flips it
onions
over.
so that the steams the onions into the burger,
Yep.
which, I mean, he probably learned from White Castle.
Makes sense.
But you know those burgers are cooked entirely on a bed of onions.
Mhm.
It's so good. Oh,
I love an Undercover Boss episode of White Castle.
listen, I'm really fucking hungry
Me
at
too.
this
I'm
point.
starving.
It's such a bad idea. Oh God, I ate leftover pizza for dinner and it did not take. But
yeah.
but my point is, yeah. So he makes this simple burger, tons of cheese. He puts it on the bun. He squeezes
Presses it down.
It's juicy as hell. And then the subtitle, Dave, I love it.
A real cheeseburger is what we get, a supplemental course. A cheeseburger, just a well-made cheeseburger.
Yeah, that's all it says.
Yep.
None of that accoutrement bullshit.
Nope.
No extra syllables that you get charged $8 a syllable for.
So he serves it to Margot, and the best part of this is everybody in the restaurant's watching this happen.
Yeah, they're all just watching this moment.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
And we watch her take a big bite of it and smile, making him smile back more as she goes, "That's a cheeseburger." And he goes, "That is a cheeseburger." And and she comments that her eyes were maybe a little bigger than her stomach, asking if she can get the rest to go.
And so he puts it in a fucking to-go box.
Yes, he does.
And then she pays.
Presents her with the to-go bag, and then they let her walk out the front fucking door.
Yeah, she just leaves because she's done with her meal.
Yep. So Slowick then presents the diners with their bills, stating that they have one more course, but he's also going to include a goodie bag, which is the house-made grains, some of Doug Varick's fingers, and a copy of tonight's menu. And that's when, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the final course, which is, he talks about how this has been an assault on the taste buds, which is a s'more. He says, you know, that it is one of the most atrocious things for a culinary. Oh God, what is? I can't remember how he says it, but basically how it's a mess. Like how this is not like something that should be cooked in a restaurant. Basically,
yeah, it's meant for a campfire.
Yeah, meant for a campfire, and that's when we see that the restaurant is about to be the s'more as they are laying graham crackers.
Graham crappers.
Oh my God,
Grand crappers, ladies and gentlemen.
graham cracker crumbs all over the restaurant floor. They are putting these like marshmallow straight jackets onto the guests, and also putting these giant chocolate hats on the guests as well.
Dave couldn't think of the word
I'm
hat.
hungry too. No, like I'm hungry too. Like I didn't think about this.
Oh no.
And that's when we see Slowick take his hand into the coals. He grabs the coals, and we see Margot pulling away on a boat that she's found. He goes, you know,
it was the boat that they saw the Coast Guard
they
arrive
saw the Coast
on.
Guard bring, yeah. And that's when he drops the coals down, saying, you know, I love you all again. We love you too, chef. And we see the entire restaurant, the staff, the customers all go up in flames as these marshmallows, chocolate are all melting. And Margot stops the boat as the restaurant ignites, takes out the cheeseburger, takes a big bite, watches the fire, takes the menu out of the goodie bag, and wipes her mouth with it. But we also missed that they bring up the s'mores card, which says s'mores, marshmallow, chocolate, graham cracker, customers, staff, restaurant. And that, my friends, is
the menu.
2022's the menu.
And I want to say one thing before we get into all of it.
Yeah.
The chef, what was his name again? The chef?
Julian Slowick.
Slowick. Chef Slowick. I think I know why he wanted to die in the restaurant. Not just because he's sad.
Yeah.
I think he needed to prove he was not a god.
I could see that.
Think about how he is. He has followers. Not just the people who work for him, the people who pay obscene money to eat his food.
Yeah.
He gets to demand everything. He gets to tell them, no substitutions. You eat what I give you. It's perfect in every way. He gets to friggin', touch fire with his bare hands and he doesn't care. He has his own island, his own everything. It's all self-serving. I think in a way, if you look at him and the way he carries himself, the way he talks to everybody, I think in a way, he feels he's a god and resents it.
You're going to love some trivia here in a second.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You ready?
I mean, unless you wanted to expand on the whole...
No. I'm gonna give you this
Mr.
trivia.
Sunshine.
I'm going to give you this trivia right now.
Okay, I'm down.
So one of the restaurants that they say, the newspaper article in Chef's Room shows that he once worked at a restaurant called Tantalus. Tantalus is the name of a character in Greek mythology. He invited the gods to his home for dinner, but tricked them into eating a stew made from the meat of his own son, who he had murdered and dismembered in order to test their omniscience. When the gods realized what he had done, they cursed Tantalus to stand in shallow pool of water under a fruit tree. Anytime he would raise his hand for the fruit, the tree's branches would rise beyond his reach, and anytime he would bend down to drink, the water would recede. Much the same way, the chef has served the elite and sacrificed his own dream, and now all the food and drink is meaningless to him.
That's interesting. I do like that. Yeah.
But no, I think you're absolutely dead on. I think he has kind of came to this realization that since he's lost the passion, since he's lost the desire to do what he loves, that the only way for him to go out is the way for him to go out with his entire staff.
He wants to take it all with him.
Take it all with him, exactly.
Well, and the whole thing where he lets the sous chef stab him.
Yeah.
And then ruin his shirt, and then he apologizes. I felt like that was a part of him trying to step his way back into mortality.
Yeah.
Since he knew that, like, I'm going to die tonight.
Yeah.
And that was just something I started to pick up with the way he walked around, the way he looked at people, the way he talked to people, the way he was so confused when people didn't agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this guy's got a God complex, and I don't think he likes it.
He doesn't like it, yeah.
Yeah, that's just my thought. But what was it, Dr. Sunshine?
Calling Dr. Sunshine.
Calling Dr. Sunshine.
Yeah.
I think that Calling Dr. Sunshine was a metaphor for the cheeseburger.
Okay.
Because Leguizamo's character says when he made that movie, like, it was a stupid script, not a great role, but a great set to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So because he smiles when he hears about it, even though he's like, I'm not like super proud of that movie, but I enjoyed being there. But then you hear one person, the chef, who's this hate-filled, jaded creature, saying like, well, that movie wasn't very good and it ruined my whole day. But then like some random ass sous chef is like, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Because service is subjective, and how happy you make people is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
It's also worth considering for a moment, David, that America is a service economy. We shifted. We used to be a manufacturing economy. Now we're a service economy.
Yeah.
Most people work in the service industry.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people forget, and I bet you didn't know this, you know who's in the service industry?
What do you mean?
Like what profession is in the service industry?
No.
Podcasters.
Oh, yeah.
Actors.
Yeah.
Filmmakers.
Yeah.
That's the service
That is
industry.
the service industry.
My point is, see how you didn't even realize it? And you're not a jaded dude. I don't really think you're jaded at all.
No.
I mean, if you are, it's like, whatever. It's
minor.
not, it's minor. But like my point, I mean, we all get jaded about something.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Is like, but even you're like, oh yeah, because the second I said that, you're like, oh yeah, of course there's service.
Yeah.
That's what I got from this movie. Is it's like, when you stop caring about who you're supposed to be taking care of.
Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, people in the service industry, they get treated like shit all the time. They get crapped on. It's a really hard job. But if you've ever met someone, and I don't know if you have or not, who is excellent in the service industry, and I don't just mean they're good at the job, they like it.
Yeah.
There is a joy. I don't know if I'm one of them. I actually liked working retail, but I only did it for 4 months during Christmas.
I worked retail for a long time.
Yeah, but like I have a buddy, Ray. You know Ray?
Yeah.
And Ray is a concierge and a manager of hotels.
Yeah.
He loves making people stay comfortable.
Oh, I bet.
He loves going out of the way. He once told me a story with this big grin on his face because he opened the pool for an extra hour because this family had traveled really far.
Yeah.
And they arrived an hour late. So he came to the room and was like, I just want to let you know the door will be unlocked until 10:30 instead of 9:30.
That's cool.
We hope you enjoy your stay. But he was just telling me the story.
Just telling you, yeah.
And he had a huge smile on his face because he was like, I got to make their day by doing my job. And I think that's how a good chef is. I think that's how you have to be if you want to entertain people. You know, I know how fortunate I am. I mostly work in movies, but now my part-time gig is podcasting, this show and Weekly Spooky. And Weekly Spooky has a really big audience. It's very hard to accrue an audience like that. But every day I sit down, no matter how tired I am, I can't help but get a little twinkle in my eye because I'm going to make someone smile.
Yeah.
Like literally while we were recording the show, I got a comment on Patreon from somebody just saying how much they loved the new series that just finished.
Hell yeah.
And it made me so happy.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to lose that. And the best way to lose what it means to do something for others is to seek perfection. because then the customer is completely secondary.
That totally makes sense.
So that's just my thought.
Yeah.
So when I heard the multiple references to Calling Dr. Sunshine, I was like, that's his cheeseburger.
That totally makes sense.
And he doesn't like that people remember it, yet he can't help but smile.
Smile when it's brought up,
Yeah, just like the chef couldn't help but smile when he was asked for a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how hard is it to make a great cheeseburger? It's not that hard.
Well, it's like the
and
one
it doesn't
thing
have to be hard to be valuable.
No, and the one thing I love about the scene when she sees the Hungry Howie's article is she sees a picture of him with his family, like his wife and his kid, and he's not smiling. Sees another picture of him at the restaurant, not smiling. Sees this picture from 1987 of him just holding the spatula and the cheeseburger, big ass grin, and she just centers in on it.
Because he's making people happy with food.
Yeah.
Which is what he always wanted.
Yeah.
So
it's so good.
That's something I really love about the film. And I've been thinking a lot about the service economy since, frankly, my mind was blown when I found out that podcasters and filmmakers are categorized as service. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it actually made me prouder. I was like, you mean to tell me that, like, I'm in the same business as the person who, just by being polite to me when I pick up a pizza, makes my day better? I like it. I'm in. I enjoy that. I'm okay with that. I am not better than anybody.
Yeah.
I like that. So, because I've always believed that, a little something can make somebody's whole day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, I agree with that too. I mean, I work in a customer service field right now, and the littlest things that I can do sometimes that makes people's entire day just makes me feel better. Like, even if it's just something that I don't have to really lift a thumb up to do much. It's like just a simple task of either calling a store and verifying something for them. It makes their day incredible sometimes, and it's just that little extra effort.
Oh, yeah. I get praised a lot for great customer service on my web store, because if your disk arrives broken, I'll send you a new one, like, immediately.
Yeah.
And people will get thrilled.
You also ship immediately, too, for the
I
most part.
I try.
Try to, yeah. I mean, I've been sitting with you, like, when we've been watching movies, and you pause it, and you're like, I got to take something to the post office real quick.
Yeah, I got to go to the post office right now.
All right, so you ready to wrap this show up?
Sure.
All right, so our budget is $30 million.
For this show?
No, I wish.
Do I get paid now, finally? Because I kind of would like to be reimbursed for all the cameras and microphones.
So the budget of the film is $30 million. It opens on November 18th, 2022. What do you think the box office was?
I don't think it was a massive hit. Am I wrong?
So I don't know what the opening weekend was, but the box office in total was $79.6 million.
Okay, I was going to guess in the 70s, actually, believe it or not.
Grossing $38.5 million in the U.S. and Canada and $41.1 million in other territories.
That's really good.
Filming began September 3rd, 2021 in Savannah, Georgia, also shot on Jekyll Island Shore. In 2019, Emma Stone was attached to play the lead role with Alexander Payne directing, but in 2021, Anya Taylor-Joy replaced Stone and Myold replaced Payne.
That would have been a fascinating movie with Alexander Payne in charge.
No shit.
So Will Ferrell and them were trying to get Alexander Payne?
Yeah.
That would have been a very different film,
yeah. Will Tracy, one of the writers, dined at Cornelius Sumajit restaurant, an island restaurant out in Bergen, Norway, during a honeymoon, and later suggested the story to Seth Rees, inspired by the experience. Several figures from the world of fine dining were brought on as consultants for the film, including Chef Dominique Crenn, who recreated several dishes from her San Francisco restaurant, Atelier Crenn, for, I don't even know, for the fictional restaurant, Hawthorn. Second unit director David Gelb, who was brought on to recreate filmmaking style from his Netflix docuseries Chef's Table, which is mentioned in the movie.
Yeah. That's interesting.
2 seconds, got hair on my tongue.
Oh my God, unprofessional. You just eat the hair and keep going.
I'm trying to.
Oh my God, I swear.
The entire kitchen team were trained to actually create the dishes broken down station by station so that if any time you look at them, they're all doing the correct things they should be doing for that dish were it real life and not a movie.
Ooh, that sounds annoying. Best of luck to those people.
The unique dining room setup in the film meant that all the actors playing the diners were almost always on stage and were expected to improvise in the background when their close-ups weren't being filmed. To keep things fresh and to get to know each other, Joy and Hoult would tell each other personal stories with key details change while filming, then try to guess what was fiction and what was fact between takes.
I would be like, hey, both of you, say peas and carrots and nothing more.
A newspaper article in Chef's Room. Oh, I read that one already.
Yeah, Jesus.
Leguizamo based his character of a washed-up action star on Steven Seagal, whom he called a horrible human due to a particularly bad experience while working with him on Executive Decision. Multiple references to Diaz playing a cook in one of the movies, maybe a nod to the Under Siege films where Seagal also played a chef.
Yeah, he did. He played a cook on a...
I'm just a cook.
Yeah, I'm just a cook.
The burger consumed by Margot was a real burger as opposed to the foods seen throughout the movie. The dishes created by Slowick were prop foods. Everyone was so hungry on set watching Anya eating the burger that Leguizamo ordered Five Guys burgers and fries for the entire cast.
They only had 30 million. They didn't have a fucking catering? Come
Apparently
on.
not. The movie's digital release came just a few days before Norma, an iconic fine dining restaurant in Copenhagen whose traits, locally sourced ingredients, exclusive clientele, and an aura of riggedy and formality, likely inspired or at least parallel to Hawthorn, announced that it would close down. A linked article incidentally mentioned criticism of Norma for mistreating and underpaying its workers, much like the oppressive work environment of Hawthorn's kitchen, although this problem is a pervasive one throughout the food industry. Some even claim that the movie's eerie similarities with reality may have been the final straw for the controversy plagued Norma. This makes the finale, where the restaurant and everyone in it is destroyed, slightly an uncomfortable parallel.
Oh, because before it was hilarious and joyful.
Lastly,
oh boy,
there are 12 dining guests, just like the apostles in the Last Supper.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, before we do our final thoughts.
Yes, sir.
What's the most expensive thing you've ever eaten?
Fleming's. When I went with my parents to Fleming's Steakhouse, that was a.
You don't have to know the exact numbers. You can just ballpark. It's fine.
I'm trying to think of what the dinner for me.
Name one thing you ate in the 11 visits.
A twice baked potato.
Wow, your parents are cheap.
Anyway, so it was me, my mom, my dad, my sister, and my ex. $850 bill.
They don't make an $850 bill.
You know what I mean.
So
Are you going to talk what I think you're going to talk about?
About line caught sushi?
Yeah, I knew it.
Well, yeah, because I am not a person who spends an immense amount of money on food generally.
We DoorDash.
But, well, that is an immense amount of money food sometimes. But when I was working down in Miami on a documentary that I'd been hired onto, and the executive producer, very wealthy, and he took me to two different restaurants. Mm-hmm. One was a sushi restaurant and one was a steakhouse. Neither of them had prices on the menus.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, so the sushi restaurant served line caught sushi, which means that the fish is caught on a line, not in a net, which means that they are bled before they die, which means their meat is more supple and less bitter. So we go there, no prices on the menus. And as I'm like about to order a entree,
mm-hmm.
he says, "Oh no, don't order like a full entree, just order stuff. And then when they come back," he's Romanian, "and when they come back, just order more if you want more." And I was like, "How does that work?" He's like, "Watch." So he just like ordered a roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the roll was gone, he just ordered even more and more. So we must have ordered between the two of us like 16 or 17 times.
Mm-hmm.
The check was more than $1,000.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then when I went to the steakhouse, the check for the two of us was over $600.
Damn.
I got veal because I had.
Oh, I would.
I had never had veal, and he was very insistent. He was like, "Get whatever
you want." Yeah.
Well, it's not like you could really tell what was most expensive. There's no fucking prices.
No prices, yeah.
But no, so those were the most expensive meals of my life, and they were within 2 days of each other.
That's awesome.
So, anyway, but prior to that, it would have been like going to the Pine Club or something around Dayton.
Pine
so,
Club. Yes.
So, what's your final thought on this movie, Dave?
This is a buy it for me. I'm going to give it a buy it with a caveat that it may be a rent it for others. The reason that I love the menu is because it is a great unveiling of obsession and of, I would say, like it's a toss between obsession and overall
perversion,
materialism.
How do you mean?
Because you have the people that are there, the people that have been there 11 times, and you've got the fact that Slowick has lost his desire to cook. You've got people that are coming there just basically for the gram, as we said earlier. And this kind of shows everybody in a light that is both showing of the consequences that they had, like he points out and everything, but also on top of that, we get to see we get to see a display of how people. I'm trying to think how I want to word this. When you're faced with the consequences of your actions, but also you see what it has done to another person, it makes you kind of accept the fate that you've been given in a sense.
I mean, when you're not a sociopath, that would be correct.
I'm not one of those things.
Well, don't forget, there was a moment when Anya Taylor-Joy was being asked about being a prostitute.
Yeah.
And she said, I get to meet people like you.
Yeah.
And the chef was just like, there's no one like me. And she just chuckles.
Yeah.
Because there's tons of people.
No,
like
I mean,
him.
you nailed the God complex to 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that's another reason I love this movie is because the performances in it, I mean, Fiennes alone is amazing, but between Leguizamo's character and you have Anya Taylor-Joy, you've got freaking Nicholas Hoult. I mean, everybody keeps you watching in this movie because you don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, it's a great ensemble.
Yeah.
A phenomenal ensemble. I'm going to give it a rent it. I think that if this film ages well, in 10 years, it would be a buy it.
Okay.
I feel like it's rare that a movie is a buy it when it's only like 2 years old.
I get that.
Not always rare, but I just feel like, do I have to own it? Maybe, but I'm really into artsy films. And whenever I give the buy it, rent it, I try to kind of think broader than myself.
More fun film. I mean, this isn't necessarily a fun movie, I would say.
But I'm talking broadness.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about like, I like really heady bull crap. But do I think that anybody listening to this should buy it? If you're into that kind of thing. But you'll know by the end of the film if you would rather buy it than rent it. But I definitely think it's a rent. It's worth paying, $5-6 to watch it tonight if you haven't seen it.
Under 2 hours. And I mean, that alone is worth it in my opinion. Special indeed. So recommendations, we always like to end the show with them.
I read one of your recommendations. You stole mine.
You want to give it and I'll give the other?
All right, you give your first one.
I knew it.
The second one was...
I fucking knew you were going to pick that one.
Because didn't I introduce you to that film?
No, dude. I saw that movie. I rented that movie at Family Video.
You never rented anything at Family Video.
You
killed Family Video all by yourself.
I rented that at Family Video with friends.
Now I know you're lying.
Go ahead and give yours.
Oh, well, I was going to recommend Bitter Feast. It was a, what was it, 2012? 2010. That was a indie film starring Josh Leonard, famous for being in the Blair Witch Project.
And James Legros, who is, what's-his-face on Point Break and Justified. I can't think of his character name. Roach. He's Roach on Point Break.
Well, and they're both phenomenal in it, but it's about a chef who kidnaps a reviewer. Critic. No runny yellows. It's an excellent film. I'm just mad you had it there because that's one of those movies I love that's really under the radar.
Yeah.
And I think Bitter Feast is one totally worth watching.
And I'm going to recommend one that also focuses on obsession, 2015's Burnt with Bradley Cooper. Adam Jones is a chef who destroyed his career with drugs and diva behavior. He cleans up and returns to London, determined to redeem himself by spearheading a top restaurant that can gain 3 Michelin stars.
I like the movie. I do.
Yeah, nothing gets burnt. Spoilers.
I just like to tease about the fact that nothing gets burnt in a whole cooking movie.
Feelings get burnt in that
movie. Maybe.
so, yeah. You want to know what we're talking about next week?
Not in the least.
Well, you know how we said we're going to take a break from the 90s?
No.
We lied. Urban Legend from 1998. I cannot remember what her name was that requested it, but this was a birthday request for one of our listeners and a big personal favorite of mine. I'm really, really happy to talk about this one.
Yeah, Urban Legend, baby.
And that is going to be a fun one to discuss.
And I'll get to talk about a horror movie while I'm in the midst of directing one.
That is true.
Hooray.
Yay.
Well, before we get out of here, we do have emails.
Yes, you told me. But I don't have them, so you got to read them.
Well, yeah, because you can't read. So these folks wrote us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. The first one is from a gentleman named Kevin Pothoff.
Okay.
The subject line I already like. It says, great show.
Hey.
Awesome show today, guys. Really enjoyed it. So this was on the day that we released the Beekeeper episode.
Yeah. Beekeeper.
Hope you guys start pulling some movies from the 1960s and 70s.
Would love to.
I would also like to hear your take on Monster Squad and the original House on Haunted Hill.
Okay.
Thanks for the entertainment. It makes the day go by. I am also enjoying Weekly Spooky. Well, thank you for checking out my other podcast as well. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Monster Squad is my birthday movie.
That's fair.
For this year.
Okay.
So, because it's been my favorite since before you were born.
No-brainer.
So we're going to do Monster Squad at my birthday, which is September, early September. As far as 1960s and 70s, I mean, I'm down.
I would love to pull some older over onto the show for sure, because I have been into a lot of noir lately from the 40s and 50s, and I think some of those would make pretty good episodes. And some of them are an hour and 15 minutes long.
Well, that's very common, actually. And then we have one from wow, this is a lot of recommendations.
Oh, okay.
We have one from our good buddy Eric Whiting.
Oh, Mr. Whiting.
Yeah, not only a listener of the show, but a good friend of mine, my editor, often assistant director on films. And the headline is, or the subject line is, movie options for future episodes.
Okay.
This is actually a really good list.
Oh, I'm excited.
Long-time listener, first-time emailer. Here are a handful of movies that could be good choices for future episodes. Some are favorites of mine. Some are ones I don't often find podcasts about. All are ripe for discussion and reaction.
Hell yeah.
First one, Blood Simple.
Yes.
Second one, Cable Guy.
Yes.
Third, Cecil B. Demented.
Yes. Demented Forever.
This one I've not heard of. Flight of the Intruder from 1991.
That's a solid flick, I think, and I think he just watched it recently because I follow Whiting on Letterboxd.
That looks good too. Maniac from 1980.
Yeah, we do Maniac.
Nope from 2022.
I would love to do Nope.
I love Nope as well. Nosferatu, the Werner Herzog remake.
I'd be down.
Seconds from 1966.
That is a political thriller, I want to say. I can't remember.
Serpent and the Rainbow from 88.
Oh, I fucking love Serpent and the Rainbow.
Ooh, this one's really... And Small Soldiers from 1998.
I love Small Soldiers.
Of course
that might
you
be my
do.
birthday movie, actually.
Ah, hell.
Oh.
And whatever gets him away from Slaughter High.
Yeah, you'll take that one.
Since they come up in discussion a lot, one of the original 3 Jack Ryan movies could also be a great choice.
I need to
Patriot
revisit those.
Games is the most nostalgic for me. I love Patriot Games.
is good. I need to revisit the Jack Ryan series. Hunt for Red October was probably the one that I watched the most, though, growing up. Fair enough.
And then the last line is, if you're willing to break the availability rule, The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover from 1989.
I just so happen to have that on Blu-ray.
And Happiness from 1998.
I don't know about that.
I mean, if we don't want to review Happiness, we could at least review like Palindromes or something.
Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Or Welcome to the Dollhouse, Todd Solondz movies.
I don't get me wrong. Whiting, I love Happiness. You know I love Happiness. That is just a tough one.
Hits too close to home on account of, Dave being a...
Shut up.
What?
That movie is a tough watch for anybody, and also, like you said, availability-wise, until Criterion supposedly puts out that new 4K, I don't know when it's going to get available again. You want a tuna sandwich?
All right, well, we're going to get out of here, guys, but make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, leave a like, and if you can leave a comment, it really does help, and we will be happy to respond to it.
Yes.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much. Make sure you're subscribed to the show, and if you can, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating.
Absolutely.
It really makes a big difference for the show. If you want to get a hold of us, go to doyouevenmovie.com or doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com.
Correct.
We're happy to hear from you. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We'll never be on TikTok again.
Nope.
And
don't know what happened there.
until next time, my friends, we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.